Okay, so we will start this webinar for eCarUp Basics in English. A warm welcome to our listeners all around the world. The goal of today is that we give you a first impression of our platform and what it can do, and to give you some hints on how to use it. And then, of course, you will receive all the necessary information from us in an email afterwards. This includes the slides and also our contact information, so you can get easily in contact with us and further discuss any usage of the platform. Let's jump right into it. What is eCarUp and what are we doing? eCarUp is a platform that aims to simply and uncomplicatedly manage and build e-charging stations. This is important because it means we, as eCarUp, we are a technology provider. We are a B2B business. It means that we are not ourselves are building charging stations and selling power at them, compared to other backends that maybe do it. We are also not present at the big interstates or in the public spaces where we build infrastructure and then sell the power there. We simply build a tool for someone else, you as our customer or our partner, to easily integrate charging station and then manage them along your own preferences. This means that we don't, as I said, we don't own the charging stations, and you as the user or you as a station owner, you define the prices, you define the users, you define the opening times. So it means that we are in some regard also like an Airbnb for EV charging stations. In order to achieve this solution, we have three important pillars to our solution. First of all, we try to be as hardware agnostic as possible. It means that we are trying to integrate as many charging hardware producers as possible, and we do that with different meanings, and I will show you later how we do it. But our goal is that we can always support the most powerful solutions on the market, that you, our partner or our customer, that you can freely decide which hardware best fits your use case and your preferences. Secondly, the platform is built to be convenient. It means that charging stations can be uncomplicatedly integrated to the platform without any hurdles, and then configured yourself. It means that we don't have to activate an account or anything. You can just create your own account, integrate the charging stations of your choice, and then start configuring. In this way, every day there is 25 to 75 new charging stations in our platform, because the existing partner network is already successfully doing this model. And then lastly, we are open to technical progress. It means that the whole eCarUp solution is own developed. It means the web portal, the apps, everything. We have our own development team, and this means that we can decide where we take this solution and what features and what improvements we want to implement next. Here we are also listening to our partner network. If we are aware of functionalities that are very sought after, we will prioritize them accordingly. With that, a short overview of our system. I will only make a few regards to the upper part of this graphic, because this is our mother company, SmartMe. There we develop an intelligent smart metering platform where you can monitor, visualize, and bill energy data in any given building with our appliances. Here we also develop our own hardware, and then the data are sent via Wi-Fi or mobile network to an intelligent cloud solution where the whole administration of the data is being carried out. eCarUp is the extension for electric mobility, and it has one major difference. It is also possible to build charging stations to anonymous users. It means you can also do semi-public or public use cases with our platform. The connecting element of this is our own charger, Pico, which is now MID certified and therefore can be used for billing purposes in the whole of the European Union. And since it is our own hardware product, of course, it sends real-time data to our cloud platform, and it can then there be used as any charging station within the eCarUp ecosystem. Today, we will focus on this blue part of the, so to the eCarUp part of the solution. If you wish to have more information about the whole ecosystem, or if you're interested in the metering side of the solutions, feel free to contact us afterwards, and we will gladly provide you the information because we work very closely with our mother company. Now, if we are diving in this blue part, the system architecture looks like this. Oh, sorry, we have some one slide in between. The challenges of the electric mobility, or especially for charging solutions, is that there is many different use cases, and we have to be able to react to them. First, for a tenant, it is very easy, right? He wants to have a charging station, he wants to easily activate it, and he wants to get a transparent bill for how much he has charged and what it costs. But already for a building owner, it gets more complicated because maybe he has different buildings with different budgets. Maybe he has also, business renters. Maybe he has also some semi-public, a restaurant, whatever. And there he needs a platform where he can react to the different use cases. And then, of course, also the SMAs are starting to electrify their fleets, which means they need charging points at their business site for their partners, for their employee, for the workers, and also for maybe workers that charge at home if they are on the road a lot, in order to satisfy this growing need. eCarUp aims to have a solution for all these different use cases. And in order to achieve that, we come back to the system architecture. I will start on the left side, where we start with the charging station that we integrate, and then we will go to the right. Firstly, as I said, we try to integrate as many charging station manufacturers as possible. We do this quite often via the OCPP 1.6 interface. It is the Open Charge Point Protocol, and is the standard interface for any charging station with any given backend solution. This means that we can integrate with a lot of different hardware developers, and quite often the implementations are very similar. With that, we can integrate the big brands like Menekes, like Keber, like Alfen, but also DC charging, fast charging stations from ABB, from Siemens, from Alpitronic, and from more. And the advantage is the standardization. So the implementations are very similar, and quite often we are able to do them quite fast. Nonetheless, we require every charging station manufacturer to do a test in our laboratory, because we want to be sure that the charging stations behaves correctly before we publicly support it. And once we support it, we are also able to give some support on the charging station. The kind of negative aspect of OCPP 1.6 is that again the high standardization. It means that we only are sent a certain set of information, a standardized set of information, and this is from the public side, right? OCPP has been developed for public charging interactions, and it means that the whole billing and everything is based on differences of meter or counter readings. So we will get a counter reading from the station at the beginning of the charge, then during the charge in certain intervals, and at the end, and the whole billing is done with that data set. Plus or minus. It means, of course, it is very powerful. We can do a lot with it, but in some circumstances, especially in Switzerland and in Germany, where now own consumption communities are possible, meaning that a building owner can sell his solar power directly to his tenants. there the interval for charging or for billing the electricity is 15-minute data, and then the OCPP protocol quite often is not delivering enough data. That's why we have integrated some hardware brands also via API. API is an open cloud interface that they are providing, which means we can get the data at intervals that we define and not the standard like in OCPP. These brands are Easy and Septec, and we will can read out this data, or we read out this data in every 15-minute interval, and then we have a continuous data stream, and with that we can also do high and low tariff, and also high, low, and solar tariff systems that we are that are more powerful in these circumstances. And then, of course, we have the Pico charging stations. It requires no additional interface. It communicates directly to our platform. And there, of course, we also have 15-minute data. There we also have MID certified 15-minute data, meaning that the whole billing is then also fully within the law, since we have achieved this milestone a couple of months ago. But regardless of how you integrated the charging station into the eCarUp platform, afterwards you are able to define who can charge, when, and at what price freely. So you are able to set opening times. You are able to set special users with special prices. You can set a location on the map. You can put a description that the drivers then can read in the app before activating the charging. You, of course, define the price. You define whether the charging station should be integrated into the roaming platform in order to be shared more publicly, and so on and so on. And with all these possible settings, we circle around to the slide before, meaning that there you define your use case, and there you define who can charge at your charging stations and to what price. This data, or this, so we have now integrated our favorite charging station manufacturer. We have configured the charging station according to our preferences, and now this data can be accessed via different channels. And first of all, there is the eCarUp app for the drivers. It currently still has some functionalities for station owners, but they will disappear. It will then fully focus on the driver, meaning drivers find charging stations, they activate charging stations, and they can pay for charging stations all within the app. The app has also a map functionality, so I can find available charging stations on a map in my region. And already there, we selectively only show you the charging stations that you have a right to activate. Meaning for me, for instance, Fabian Trinkler, I will find all the charging stations that have been marked as public, because then everybody can charge at them. And I can additionally also find all the charging stations that are limited, but where I have been invited as a special user. I will show you at the end a live demonstration of one of these accounts. In our office building, we have 4 chargings in the basement. It is a locked environment. Only employees can go there, meaning that only employees can also unlock the charging station. We then have a web portal that I will quickly show at the end of this presentation. That's basically where you do all these parameters, where you decide prices, uses, etc. Is made mainly for the station owner. Drivers can also log in if they have no charging stations integrated, and they have a bit more detailed data about their charge history. They can also export their charges, and so on and so on. Additionally, and according to our philosophy, we are also working on open interfaces, meaning that the data that have been collected by the eCarUp platform do not always have to be processed via eCarUp. Quite often, we are also sending data to a third-party systems. In Switzerland, the most public one is that we send data to the utility, or they get the data automatically from the platform, meaning that they then process the data, and send the end customer a bill, a power bill, which is of course more convenient for the tenant or for the consumer, and also the utility can use its existing infrastructure in order to bill the charging invoices. And we are working on a agnostic API, so on a cloud interface, in order for any third-party system to get data from us and integrate it. I am thinking about e-mobility or real estate softwares in the future. I'm thinking about parking systems. I'm thinking about other billing systems that are in place in different parts. Also maybe monitoring for a utility on multi-level, knowing how much power is used by the different chargers that they have installed, and so on and so on. The reason why we do this as an open interface is that we do not yet know all the possible use cases, and we just want to present our partners with a selection of data that they can get from us, whatever they may need. Moving on from this infrastructure of the platform, we will now have a look at the different options of how eCarUp chargings can be built, because there's differences as well. Basically, 4 major cases have evolved, with one being distinctively different to the others, and that is our automatic billing by credit card. Why is it different? First of all, it is an instant payment mechanism. It means that, or it works the following: the drivers, they add a payment method, a credit card in our case, a credit or a debit card, to their app, like you do it in Uber or in Fairtick or in Airbnb. And this will then be your means of payment for all your charging sessions. Once you activate the charging stations, in the background, we already check if this card is valid, and only then we are activating the charging. After the charging is being done, we know the price, and then we will immediately, after the charging, take the money from the credit card and credit it to the account of the station owner, fully automatic, and directly after the charging. The driver will get a receipt from us with all the necessary information that he uses, and the station owner will immediately see that the money has been credited in his account. Now, this has 2 very important implications. First of all, with that, the billing is to a very high degree automated. No one has to create a bill, send a bill, make sure that the payment is being done, and then processes in the payroll or in the accounting. The money is simply stacking up in the account and can be paid out to any bank account at any point in time. So you have you don't have a lot of administrative work. Secondly, it means that this money never belongs to the eCarUp AG, never belongs to us, and therefore we are fully within the regulations of the different lawmakers in Europe, because they want to prevent that money is being sent to different accounts anonymously, and with us sending the money directly to the station owner and not first taking it to us, we have no problem with that. Since this is an presentation in English and there might be some international customers here, I would also like to highlight that this solution works in every country that is supported by Stripe, which is our payment provider in the background. They are present in all of Europe and in most developed countries around the world. But in order to make sure, please check Stripe and where it is available. And secondly, and this is important, since Stripe is our payment provider, it is no problem to use eCarUp in any country that they are active in, because they adhere to all the regulations where they are, and therefore the payments are always within the regulatory means, and we have no problem with the money laundering issues. It also means that if you want to have a charging station and if you want to receive money with this charging station, you have to verify your account as a station owner. The lawmakers want to make sure to know who is the beneficiary of this money, and therefore you will have to deposit some legal information when creating your account, respectively when setting a price at the charging station, because we are only allowed to send money to an account where this information has been made known. Our other three cases, they differ because these are post-paid mechanism, as I like to call them. It means that the charging station itself functions more like a traditional power meter. There is no money flowing directly during the charging session, but the user is charging, and at the end of the billing period, the end of the month, the end of the half year circle, or the end of the year, someone is finding or creates a report on how much energy has been used, creates a bill, and sends it to the end customer. This can be done with three different cases. First of all, SmartMe billing. This is what I mentioned before. That is where we have these 15-minute data streams from Septec, Easy, and Pico charging stations. Then this billing software will automatically calculate high, low, and solar tariff and create an energy bill in order to send to the tenants. Secondly, we have the eCarUp reports. This is just a tool in eCarUp where you can find out how much has been charged at any given charging station, or how much has been charged by a special user that you have created. Let's say you have an employee that charges at different locations and you want to find out how much he has been charging in total and not a single charging point. Then you can use this tool. Again, you will get the consumption data from us, but you will have to create a bill and send it to the respective user, which means you have to know him. And then the third one is our open interfaces, as already mentioned. We can also send data, or we can provide data that can be grabbed automatically. And then you can process this data in any given third-party system that is supported. And then, for instance, as I said, the utility can send a power bill or a current bill directly to the end consumer. And it basically is in all of the three cases, it is the same mechanism that is at work, but you get the data from a different source. It means also here you can, of course, mix and match the use cases in any eCarUp account. So you can, of course, say, so in my tenant building, I have some parking spaces in the basement. It's locked. I only want the respective parking space owner to be able to charge, and we will send him a bill with SmartMe billing at the end of every month. But I also have two charging stations that are installed at the visitor parking spaces, and there I want to have the credit card implemented, because of course you will not send bills to any visitors that you may not know, but you want to make sure that you will get the money immediately after the charging section, and then you have the two use cases in one account and you have no problems with the money collection. There is one important part that we also have to mention when paying with the credit card. It is that eCarUp also has an instant payment mechanism. It means that you can put a QR code onto your charging station, and this QR code can be scanned without our app, simply with your smartphone, with the camera, or with a QR code scanner app. And then this QR code will send you to a homepage, a mobile-based homepage, and there you can enter your credit card credentials once, and you can start a one-time payment. You do not have to create an account. You do not have to put a credit card to the account. You don't have to do anything. You just have to enter the credit card once, and you can charge once. Here, we will not check the credit card before, because if this user is not paying at the end of the charging station because his card, for instance, is declined, then we cannot get it from him afterwards. It means that we will reserve 60 Swiss francs or 60 euros in advance when he starts the charging, and after the charging has ended, we simply keep the difference, and whatever is not used, we will be put back to the card automatically. In this regard, it is also important to say that it is very important that if you are a station owner and you want to use eCarUp in order to share them, please make sure that you put the QR codes onto your charging station, and maybe also do a little description on how the activation of the charging is working, because then the drivers know. It creates a better charging experience when he is there, and you always have a fallback option. So if this QR code is there and someone for some reason cannot access his app, or maybe has lost his mobile phone and not reinstalled the app or whatever, he can always use the instant payment, and he will always be able to get power, also in situations where other means of payment may fail. The QR codes that you can put on the charging stations can be created automatically in the eCarUp web portal, and I will show you at the end where you can do it in the interface. Secondly, also about billing is our roaming integration. Roaming integration means that you, as a station owner, you are also able to share your charging station not only with eCarUp, but also with HubChecked, and therefore with many other different roaming or charging networks. If you activate this option, then your charging point will be automatically shared onto this platform. And from there, all the other backends that are part of this roaming environment will then display your charging point in their apps, and their customers can also activate it with their app or with their RFID card of choice, and then also have to pay the price that this platform is setting for the charging station. Now, this has advantages. First of all, the charging station is much more public. All kinds of drivers will find it in their apps, and it is more likely that they find it and use it. Secondly, there will be an automatic creation of a charge point on Google Maps through this activation. And since the HubChecked or the roaming environment is owned by the German car manufacturers, you will also find the charge point in many navigational systems in the cars directly. I, for instance, drive a VW, and there in my navigation system, I can find charging stations that have been shared with eCarUp onto the roaming. It also has disadvantages. It means that you will lose some kind of the pricing influence, because, as I already said, we will send the price of the charging station into this roaming network, but from there, every other charging network will take this price and will make a price according to its own business model. It means that the charging station will cost a different amount of money in the different charging networks, and neither I, as the charging network or the station operator, nor you as a station owner have any influence over this pricing. So you should always think carefully about whether you want to activate roaming, and in eCarUp, roaming is always an opt-in, meaning that you have to actively activate it. It's not enabled by default when you are integrating a charging station. As I said, we are trying to support as many hardwares as possible. In Switzerland and adjacent countries, the two Norwegian solutions from Septec and Easy are very popular, but we also support the big brands like Mennekes, Schneider Electric, Alfen, and of course the DC charging manufacturers, ABB, Siemens, Alpitronic, and many more. It also works if you have charging stations with different connectors. So for instance, if you have a CSS and a CHAdeMO connector at one charging station, this is no problem. Then you can simply configure every connector to your own preferences within eCarUp, and you can even set different prices for different connectors. Then we also have our own charging station, Pico. It is a state-of-the-art intelligent charging station. And it has now been MID certified, as I have already said. It's very important because MID is the groundwork of you need an MID certification in order to be able to bill power in the European Union. And Pico is the first full charging station to have received this certification in Switzerland by the authorities in Switzerland. And it is not a meter that is certified within Pico, but the whole charging station Pico, the whole is certified as MID. Secondly, what I have to say is the RFID, sorry, the pre-implementation for ISO 15118 is being done. It means that we can read out the car IDs of certain cars if they are compatible, and then we can deposit the car IDs into your eCarUp account, and the authorization at the charging point can work directly with this ID. Then you don't have to use an app or even a RFID card in order to activate the charging station. You simply drive your car there, you connect it to the Pico charging station. We will know which user you are because your car ID is linked to your eCarUp account. We will know which credit card is deposited in this account. We know whether you can charge or not, if you are able to charge, and we know the price. And therefore, we can do the whole billing very, very uncomplicated. And this, I think, is the goal for the future with our charging solutions. The web portal I will show in the end live shortly. So I think it is we can skip this slide for the moment. The eCarUp app is free for the drivers. You can simply download and start using it. You will also be able to, find charging stations in your area. You will see whether there are already some, or if you're planning to use it in a tenant building, of course, you can already instruct your tenants or your neighbors to download the app, create the apps before you are setting up the charging stations. Then the accounts are already there, and you know which special users you can put to the charging stations. eCarUp is a freemium platform. It means that you can integrate charging stations with no costs. You can just follow our integration guidelines, and then this will work, and you will receive a set of functionality also for free. It is a limited amount of functionality, but it is powerful enough in order that you can bill a charging station via credit card. So you can integrate it. You can set opening times. You can set users. You can set prices and all kind of this stuff. So for very small use cases or for testing, this is very easy. And also, if you are integrating charging station, you don't have to notice us beforehand. You can just do it and then afterwards follow up with the implementation. Then eCarUp has a premium functionality. You can pay, or we have an Abo subscription that you can take from us, or you can also do a one-time payment in order to buy this license. And this license will give you added functionality to your charging point. First of all, the reporting tool that we have seen in the billing slide is part of this premium feature. The maintenance tool is part of this. The maintenance tool is a live monitoring of the communication between the station and the backend. So you will in real time see what is the charging station communicating to the backend. You can find out if there is error messages, if the car has a problem, if the charging station has a problem, if the user maybe has a problem with the whole thing. And you can also send some commands to the charging station back. It means you can restart charging stations remotely. You can unblock stuck cables remotely. You can configure OCPP stations. You can, you can alter different commands on the station remotely without having to go there and do it on site. On top, you will receive a more powerful user management, where you can create whole user groups and then assign it to station groups. It will make your administrative work much more easy if you are if you're managing different locations, or if you're managing more charging stations than just 3 or 4, because you can simply create these user groups and then kick people out or invite new people to these user groups, and not having to put the special users to all the different charging stations at all times. They also already mentioned 15 minutes import for high, low, and solar tariff is part of this premium subscription. And also the already explained roaming functionality is only available if you have purchased this license in advance. The prices are the following. So as I said, eCarUp free is free, so there is no costs involved. And eCarUp Premium can be bought for €2 or 240, which means I have a lifetime license with all the advanced functionalities. But please keep in mind that if a credit card transaction is happening, doesn't matter if you have free or premium, there will always be a 10% commission on the charging. It is being taken out directly in the charging. It means that if the driver is paying €5, €4.50 will arrive at the account of the station owner. And in this 10% included is already all of the credit card fees, all of the transaction fees. So the driver will pay exactly 5. The station owner will receive exactly $4.50, and therefore it is important for station owners to price in this 10% when setting the charging price at your charging station. So if you want to earn 30 cents per kilowatt hour, then please set the price to 33, and then the user will pay for you 10%. This is how the eCarUp subscription works. Shortly, a reference, we have a very close relationship to Alfred Müller. This is a real estate development firm from central Switzerland. They have integrated charging stations all over Switzerland and in very different use cases. It means, of course, they have normal tenant buildings. They have restaurants, business parks. They also have some single party homes, and so on and so on. And because eCarUp is flexible and they can define users and prices everywhere to their liking, they just integrated charging stations and then set them to whatever mode they preferred or whatever mode was necessary in this regard. They have decided that everybody has to pay by credit card in this regard. So it doesn't matter if you live in the building or if you are just a visitor, you will pay by credit card. Sometimes it's not the same price, and they vary between, visitors and inhabitants and stuff like this. But in the end, the transaction is automatically being made from the driver to the station owner. And once a year, they can take the money onto their account and then find out with the report functionality which charging station has made how much turnover, and therefore they can easily put it into the budgets of their different buildings, and they have plus or minus 1 to 1.5 days of administration effort per year just for the billing of their now over 250 charging stations in their account, which of course is very lean, and that's why they decided to go for eCarUp. If you are interested in this use case, there is a more detailed description of it on our website, where we have also described this in a bit more detail. Where are we now? There is now currently 11,500 charging stations integrated into eCarUp. Every day there is 25 to 75 new chargers that are being integrated somewhere around Europe. At the moment, mostly in Switzerland, Germany, and Austria, but the circle is extending. And this results in plus or minus 70,000 chargings per month. So 70,000 times someone is activating a charging, and then we will bill it in any kind of way that we have seen in this presentation. So the platform is growing from this 11,500. 5,000 stations have been added to eCarUp in 2022, which means that was more than all of the stations together from all the previous years. And in this year, we are already over 3,500 again, so we will up this number a significant amount this year again. What are we working on? As I said, we have our own development capabilities, and therefore we are of course not finished with our solutions. I like to say we have just started, and now it will get really exciting in the market of electric mobility. So we are doing ongoing adoptions on the platform. We have of course a lot of different functionalities that could be added and that should be added to our solution, because the user experience and the functionality should be enhanced continuously. We are always working on the integration of charging stations or the improvement of an integration. So if we, for instance, can switch from OCPP to API, or also with Pico, we are working on some tweaks in order to make it even better, in order to display data more easily, or in order to provide more functionality. And as I said, a big strategic part will be our interfaces in the future. It means that we will work on open interfaces. We will provide our data for third-party systems in order for our platform to get even more versatile and even more used in different aspects, where maybe we are not the end point for the customer, but we are working as a data concentrator and a data integrator. So before we go to the questions, I will simply show some stuff in the internet. First of all, if you are going to our homepage, eCarUp.com, you will find this interface. You can switch it to English here easily in the menu. If you have an English browser, it will automatically be set to English already. And there we have more or less, I call it a marketing homepage, where we will find a lot of information about who we are, what we do, and what solutions we provide. As I said, here are the use cases where you can also find more information about the presented Alfred Müller case. But also very important is here in the top button navigation, we have the wiki. We have a publicly accessible wiki page. It's a technical documentation of our platform, where we have described all of the functionality that I presented and even more. And we try to always make videos, we try to make examples, configuration examples, etc., in order for you to find as much information as possible yourself, and in order for you to maybe also be able to share this information with your customers, with your partners, etc. Firstly, I want to highlight our OCPP integration guides. As I said, we integrate a lot of different manufacturers via OCPP, Open Charge Point Protocol. And for every charging station that we are supporting, there is a step-by-step integration guide here on our platform. I will choose Kleber here because it is a known brand. And you will see here, we will give you basically an instruction on what you need to do first, what you have to do on the platform before you start integrating. Then we will give you a step-by-step guide, what information you have to put where in the station interface in order for the station to connect to our platform. After that, if the charging station is on the platform and you will start configuring it, we have all of our functionalities here. So all of the different topics are described. We will now here go to the example of roaming, because we have talked about it in the presentation. Again, we will tell you exactly how to do it, where to activate it, what you have to do, and what the consequences are if you are doing it. Secondly, we have now 4 use cases, meaning that we have written down basically every step that you can take in order if you want to do this use case. I will now here use charging in SMA, so in a small or medium-sized company. And here you will see, so this is basically the integration or the guideline after you have integrated your station manufacturer of choice. Here we will give you again a step-by-step guideline on what you can do with this. Where do you can create reports? Where do you connect charging stations? What do you have to do when setting them up? We have examples on how to create user groups and then assign it to station groups, how you do special users, how to put your QR code on it, and also some examples on how you can describe QR codes, and so on and so on. So basically every step that can be done or that should be done in this use case is written down carefully in order for you to follow it and then be sure that the configuration is complete. And now, if we go back to our homepage, I can here go to our login page. This is where you connect to the web portal. It, of course, means you have to create an account first, and they have now prepared our Office account. So this is how the platform looks like. If you are logging in, you will have a small dashboard when you are there, where you will see how many charging stations are free, how many charging stations there is a car connected but no active charging, how many are occupied, and how many are not active. Now, not active is an automatic feature from us. As soon as a charging station is not communicating with us for more than 10 minutes, we will automatically put the state on not active, and we will display it here in the web portal for you as a station owner, but also in the driver for the drivers in the app, because they will not get any power from there, and we want to prevent that they drive to this charging point. It means that in most cases, the internet has failed on site. And in order to get it back online, usually the internet has to be fixed. The charger will automatically go back to free or to available, and then it can be used normally. You also see already here how much revenue our account has generated. As I already said, we as a company, if you now go to the station management, we have our charging station in the basement where it is a restricted area. You can here see limited, so that means only our employees have access to the charging points. But we also have 4 chargers outside, and we set them to public with a price for energy and a price for parking. And there we also invite people from the neighborhood that live here to charge there, but they will have to pay this price in order to do so. And that's where the money is coming from into this account. If we now see here, if we go to define users, we still have the employees as special users, meaning that even though for the public charging here there is a price, our employees have the same as in the basement. They can authorize, and then they can charge for free, because we know, this account is part of a special user. For this special user has been a special price, and therefore we will not take any money from the credit card. With that, you are completely flexible on how to build your use cases. You can easily, for instance, say, hey, my chargers are for my employees only during 7 to 5, the work hours. But at the evening and on the weekends, where no one is here anyhow, and the charging stations have already been built, then people can charge from the surrounding areas, but they have to price something to take this service into account. And then you have a win-win, because you can earn a little bit of money for your chargers, and there are new charging opportunities for people that live maybe not close to a public charging station and do not have the privilege of have one on their own. Then here on the left in the menu, you can go through the functionality that I have shown today. Maybe also some emphasis here on the QR code, as I already mentioned. For every charger or for every connector that you have connected to the charging station, you can create your own QR code directly here. You can also custom them with different descriptions, etc., and then put it on the charger. It means it is easier to activate if you have the app. You can just scan the QR code. You're directly at the right charging station, and you can easily activate the charger. But also, as I said, it's important because of the instant payment mechanism and the barrier-free charging. Secondly, you can also change QR codes. So let's say you have already described your charging point. Maybe you have made a nice sign next to it, and then the charging hardware fails. You can change the hardware or the charging station, but leave the QR code there. And then you can tell the system, hey, this QR code now belongs to this new charging station that I have integrated. And then you don't have to also change the whole signature at the charging parking space. Last comment here is sorry, not the maintenance, the account. As I already mentioned, you have to, if you want to receive money, you have to deposit your legal details. You can do that directly also here into the account. You can also click here on verify, and then we will basically ask you all the missing information that you don't have already provided in order to do so. If you're a private person, it's quite easy. If you're a legal person, the documentation goes some steps further, and you will have to disclose some information. And you can also specify here your bank account where you want the money to be sent. And if I click payout here, this money will be transferred to this bank account within approximately 2 days. Please also set a VAT if you are obliged to do so, because if you do that, we will put this information also in the invoices that we send to the drivers. And if they are driving a company car, they usually want to know, because they can then deduct this from their income taxes or whatever. So if you are VAT, of course, if you're a private person, you are not, but if you're a company, then please put this information here, because then we have this information also with the driver and he knows how to proceed. With that, I will end this presentation for the moment, and I hope to have covered most of the topics. And I will now also open a short round of feedback or questions that we can directly solve in here. If or in anyhow, all of the information that you have seen now will be sent to you in an automatic email after this presentation. And also, again, you will find our contact information, and you can always get in touch individually after that with us.
Awesome. So you can write your questions in the chat, or I also allowed you to unmute yourself. So you can also pose your questions by speaking. But I see that nobody's trying to do so. So maybe Fabian, you can finish the webinar, and we will send you all the information in the end.
Okay, not much more to say.
One question came. In Denmark, we have 4 tariffs.
Yeah. So I think this is the question about the 15-minute interval data, right? Of course, you can also do 4 tariffs. Once you have this 15-minute data stream, and you have all this data for every 15-minute interval, the software will allow you to make as many tariffs as you want to. So I think you should have no problem with that. Okay, then there is not much more to say. Then thank you for your attention and that you have participated in this webinar. I wish you all the best in your future endeavors, and yeah, stay healthy. Bye-bye.